Go ahead.
Thank you. Brenda. I'm not sure I even qualified to speak here tonight, but I'm privileged to share with you how much Brenda meant to our group. That group along the side wall over there. I'm really speaking for them at Prospect Downs. That's the barn that Brenda belonged to, where she kept and rode her horse Sophie. All the fancy equestrian names and terms just simply devolve into one catch-all term of the barn. That's what we'll call it from here on in. For instance, we knew Brenda very well in many ways, but I'll be damned if I can tell you even today what she did for a living. When I heard Brian come up here and explain that, I feel validated. I don't feel so stupid anymore, Brian, thank you. I'm not even sure, and I think I can speak for the group, that, from the time that we knew her, for the years that we saw her, for a lot of us, almost every single day, we didn't know what her life looked like outside the barn. Never came up. You see, it's a place where none of that mattered. You are who you are, and quite frankly, the horses and people could care less. It's like an equal opportunity and a level playing field, and I think that's what most appealed to Brenda. She said to me one day, cleaning up horse shit is a great equalizer. I agree. Brenda was a very large part of the community and culture there. And it's a very different culture, I might add. And if you weren't used to it, it's pretty damn weird at times. Everyone looked forward to Brenda's baking. Banana bread, cookies, sandwiches, cakes, and more. She was the first to organize and contribute to our barbecue suppers. In fact, I think there's probably a trailer load of her Tupperware containers somewhere out there because no one ever gave them back to her. And I'm pretty sure she would blow off work commitments sometimes just to be there. She had her priorities straight, I think. Here's something else that we all learned about Brenda. She was fiercely determined to succeed. I think, and I'll look to Lisa over there, her coach, she came to the equestrian sports on a competitive nature later on in life, which quite frankly is extremely difficult and can be downright dangerous. If you ride enough, you're going to get hurt. It's not a matter of when or an if. It's going to happen. She wasn't just content to quietly walk around the property. She wanted to ride competitively, and she wanted to be instructed at an expert level by a competition coach, Lisa Smith. She wanted to ride with competitive riders on sometimes difficult horses. Almost every single day she could be there when she could. There was no half-assing it with Brenda. She got good, and she got good fast. My observation, I think she was an athlete when she was younger. She had that mindset. She carried herself physically that way. My daughter Megan and I had always planned to take her to a competition and watch her ride with her name up in lights on the big board at Spruce Meadows. We planned it many times. She was excited for that possibility, and it was within reach. It wasn't all about riding. You get to know a lot about people's character working side by side with them, and Brenda worked with me a lot. She didn't have to be asked, she just volunteered. In fact, she volunteered other people. No strings. Let me tell you one of the main reasons why she volunteered. She was a smart and seasoned business person. I could see that much. I still don't know what she did for a living, but I can tell you that. I could see that much, and a horse boarding stable might be one of the worst if you want to make money businesses to be in. You know the old saying of how you make $1 million, you start with $2 million, open a stable and buy horses. Except it's more like start with $10 million and end up with one. It can be a very expensive sport and a difficult business. And Brenda and I talked about that many times, and how it can be exclusionary because of that. Part of the culture Brenda brought to the barn was, I will work if it makes it better and more affordable for everyone. So let me tell you what she did. We spent some 10-hour days building and repairing paddock fencing. I'm not sure that anybody here could probably visualize her doing that kind of stuff. It was amazing that this tiny lady, who looked like she was all of 100 or $110, was lifting posts, clearing debris, swinging a hammer, and outworking just about everyone, and comes back the next day to do it again, on more than one occasion. She calls me 2 days later and says, "I can't get out of my effing bed or sit on the toilet, I'm so sore. Don't ask me to do that again." There's some pictures around of her stacking hay. Let me tell you about that. It comes in by the truckload, 900 bales at a time, hand-loaded off a trailer and stacked in a hay shed. 60 pounds a bale, and she threw them off and up until it was done. She was there before it started, and we did that probably every 3 or 4 months for a couple of years. She was leading the way. She wasn't afraid of heights either. She stacked those top rows 15 feet high, and those bales were 2/3 of her size. That's determination and strength. Most people quit or find a way not to be there, but not Brenda. The barn flooded a few times in the spring. Brenda comes out to ride. Everyone is knee-deep in 10 inches of now liquid horse poop. She comes out, she's in running shoes and her expensive riding breeches. She looks at me, jumps in the water and says, "Let's get this shit cleaned up." She proceeded to spend the next 5 hours cleaning and draining that barn. No bitching, no complaining, not like it was her problem. She made it her problem and always helped to solve it. I actually think she liked the work. In fact, you know what? I know she liked the work. And then there are the cats. Every barn has cats, mostly feral. They show up and they stay. They're kind of like furry furniture and they hang around forever. There were 3 at first. Then my daughter Megan decides she needs to rescue some more barn cats from the Humane Society, so now there's 5. Her co-conspirator in that plot, you guessed it, was Brenda. Like anyone needed more cats, but there they were. Brenda loved those cats, and when one didn't do well with the others, Megan's solution was talking Brenda into taking him home. His name was Archie, and she just loved that cat. In fact, I don't think that cat would have made it anywhere but with Brenda. It wasn't well adjusted, and it could be mean. You can see what people are really like by how they treat animals and how the animals respond back to them, and Brenda was incredible. One of her last wishes and concerns was to make sure Archie and the barn cats were taken care of for the rest of their lives. Brenda, they will be. We like to think of some of Brenda's happiest moments were out there riding and working at the barn. I know she cared a great deal about the animals and the people there. I think she spent more time there than at home. That tells you something. We miss her, and our community is better today because of the time she was there. Thank you.
Can I put it down? Mike, can I put it down?
Go ahead.
Thanks. There were some folks who could not be here today that wanted to share some thoughts and memories. So next up, we have a short reel of messages that were sent to us, and we will share with you before we go to our final speaker.
Hi, this is Alita Visbach. I wish I could be there with family and friends of Brenda as you celebrate her life today, but unfortunately, we are out of the province at the moment. I wanted to send my condolences to the family of Brenda and to everyone who she held near and dear. She is going to be missed. She's missed every day already. 16 years ago when I came to Calgary, Brenda was on the board of directors of Heritage Park. She was my mentor. She taught me everything political. I will always be grateful to Brenda for all that she's done, not just for me, but for Heritage Park and the community at large. I miss her, and may her spirit live on in all of us.
It's an honor to speak at the celebration of life for Brenda today, because her life is one that should be celebrated. I've knew Brenda for a number of years, both at the Calgary Health Region and afterwards, and we worked together both at the region and on other projects after we left the region. She was always full of energy, positive attitudes, and solutions, so she was a pleasure to work with. She had a sense of humor, could always find something that was somewhat humorous in situations that even were a little bit bleak from time to time. As I was from Regina, Brenda and I bonded because we both had Saskatchewan roots, and it's hard to find people with Saskatchewan roots sometimes in Alberta. So we worked together on a number of things that had to do with Saskatchewan, and I found that very, very enjoyable. Truly miss Brenda because we don't have that many people that are so positive and provide such energy. In Brenda's world, it was always about how could she help and what could she do for you. It was very, very seldom about what could be done for her. So she was just spectacular that way. Joanne and I enjoyed all the time we spent with Brenda down in the Palm Desert area. We would see her from time to time when we were down there. And Joanne and I are going to miss seeing her there for sure because she certainly added a lot of energy and vibrance to that experience there. So it's in some ways a sad day, but in some ways we get to reflect on the positive things that she brought to all of us. And as I say, on behalf of Joanne and I, we certainly believe that Brenda's life was one worth celebrating. We loved her and we'll think about her as long as we are still here to reflect on things. Thank you.
This message is a virtual hug for all Barooteses, and it's a message of love and thanks, especially for Brenda. Love and thanks for the privilege of knowing her, of talking politics with her non-stop, and above all, laughing with her for years. For most of my life, in fact. Our families, the Barooteses and the Duncans, intertwined as our dads established and built their medical practices in Regina. And we kids intertwined as we grew up just a few blocks apart. And we stayed intertwined, even as your mom, Betty, and our dad, Barry, spent their late-in-life years at the same care facility in Calgary. Your mom on the ground floor, and our dad 1 floor up. I was lucky. Brenda and I reconnected in Calgary. We were in kind of similar businesses, political of course, and we maintained the connection after I moved to Vancouver. In fact, the last time we got together was over lunch in Vancouver. We talked politics, surprise, surprise, party politics, industry politics, and who we wanted and we were choosing to lead the country. We laughed, we drank wine, we told ourselves how the politicians should start listening to us, and we talked some more. We talked and laughed through lunch, through the afternoon, through happy hour. Finally, realizing the restaurant needed to make a little money from our table, we ordered dinner and we just kept talking. I asked my brothers and sisters, we Duncan kids, what they remembered most about Brenda. One word kept coming up, gracious. She was always gracious, no matter what chaos was happening around her. Always classy. And my sister Jean, by the way, wanted me to make sure and remind you all how beautifully Brenda could gift wrap anything. So Barootes, here is a virtual hug from all the Duncan Sibs. There's Barb, Peter, Jeannie, Bruce, and that's me. And Brenda, thanks for being you. You are very, very much missed.